One-on-one with Mayor Ted Wheeler. Portlanders want the truth. You can't handle the truth. Remember that line? It's like, yeah, well, maybe we can. Maybe we can handle the truth, and we want to know the truth. What is going on with the crazy amount of shootings in Portland? It's gotten so bad that the mayor is addressing this record gun violence. He's got an emergency deal going on. He's like, yeah, we can't really handle this emergency situation. So they've been analyzing what's going on. That's what we're talking about today. So Mayor Ted did a one-on-one interview kind of explaining what's going on. That's what we're talking about today. Let's jump on into it. Let's not waste any more time. This is a KATU interview. Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler said his recent emergency declaration, it's gotten so bad you got to do an emergency declaration, basically for gun violence. We keep hammering home on Portland. But Portland is, pound for pound is leading the path, leading the charts here. And that's not where you want to be, record-breaking territory, but it is what it is. And so we do want to know the truth. So Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler said his recent emergency declaration may provide the best chance yet at intervening in the ongoing violence in Portland. The program, Safe Summer PDX. Well, not this summer, maybe down the road. This is the program. Safe Summer PDX will target potential shooters and is funded with $2.4 million in taxpayer money. All right. How many studies, how many analyses do we need to have? We defunded the police. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure out what happened here, right? And then you got a mayor who's like, I'll just do whatever you want, and then wonder why things go sideways. Despite millions in intervention and prevention investment since April 2021, and several new police teams focused on violence because the old ones were disbanded, right? I mean, we're getting a handle on it. Well, you had a handle on it before, but then you had a bunch of nut jobs in your community who didn't like that, the very vocal far left, and they wanted to defund the police and get rid of all the gun violence reduction teams, and now you're redoing them. How is that working out? Well, it's working out with record levels of gun violence, right? Shootings have continued to outpace the record-setting 2021. Wheeler told KATU in a one-on-one conversation Friday that the city's solutions aren't reducing violence yet because most of the investments are focused on programs that may take years to have an impact. So that's where the whole investing in the community thing is good, and I am 100% for that, investing in community programs, but that is a slow burn, right? I mean, you need something right now, today, to stop this, right? You need, I don't know what you need, but I feel like you need a massive amount of support on the streets to quell this going on right now. And that would mean you had some forces that we're going to talk about here that it wouldn't go quietly into the night, right? Any kind of confrontation. Those kind of upstream programs, we're talking about the social programs, take a while to be involved. If you're working with 12-year-old kids, you may not actually see the reduction in gun violence for several years till they become of age, although they're picking up 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds in gangs all day long because they know those kids, they're under 18, they're not going to do any time. They're probably just going to get let off with a slap on the wrist, if even that. So if these kids take a different path, all right, that's going to take a while to have any kind of impact on the actual gun violence going on right now. But the focus of Safer Summer PDX is really to focus on those who are currently engaged and get them out of the cycle of gun violence. You're going to have to put them in jail. That's what you're going to have to do to take, unfortunately, those that are in it right now out of this cycle. And I don't think that is going to happen. I don't think we're at a point where we're actually going to engage that and do that. And I'll tell you why here in a second. And focused on more positive aspects of their life. The vast majority of this is happening due to gang violence, isn't it? I mean, we just know that. And drugs specifically. We know this is the thing. And so we need to focus on the more positive aspects of their life. Well, what's that going to look like? Are you going to have a sit down conversation with drug dealing, gang member who's running around with a stolen gun and then focus more on the positive aspects of their life? Are there any positive aspects of their life? I don't know. It doesn't really seem like it. And that's why the gun violence has gone just through the roof, because you've got this craziness that just allows itself to keep going, and you don't have enough cops to stop it. Why wouldn't this just, have this scope creep where you've just got this situation that's wildly out of control? KATU asked Wheeler why the emergency declaration and the affiliated programs didn't come earlier. That's an excellent question, because we've known the violence is off the charts, right? Now we're waiting for some data to come back. Wheeler said that city needed to wait on the results of a study that broke down trends in Portland's violence. How about you ask any cop in Portland, what do you think the trends are? Well, they're going to be able to tell you, right? Because they're boots on the ground, doing their thing. They're going to tell you exactly what's going on. So, do you really need to wait for this? The analysis done by the California Partnerships for Safer Communities showed a large percentage of shootings between 2019 and 2021 are group or gang related. All right. That's number one. And number two, and nearly half involved Portland's roughly 6% Black community. All right. So Black people comprise 6% of the population in Portland. So and that is the same here in King County. You got about 6% Black community. And nearly half involved Portland's roughly 6% Black community as either the victim or the shooter. Okay. Findings similar to a study the city conducted on shootings between 2015 and 2019. So all the data is about the same. You've got a certain aspect of the community that is responsible for well over half of either the shootings one way or another, either being victims or being the perpetrator of the gun violence. So, statistically per the population, if you want to start arresting the folks that are doing the gun violence, you're going to have this wildly skewed set of data, right? And I don't think we're in a position where we're going to arrest our way out of this one. I don't think you can arrest your way out of this one, but in order to take these shooters off the street, what's that going to look like? Are you going to be willing to take that stand and do this based on the percentages of population that we're talking about? I just don't see us there. I don't see us there. What's been interesting is with News for Reasonable People is how many Black conservatives are in my audience. I didn't think it was that many, and I've been running into more and more, and I'm seeing comments, hey, Sean, Black conservative here, love the show, that kind of thing. And then I physically run into people too, and I'm like, oh, you're a fan. Okay, well, because I do address some of this stuff, and I'm like, it is what it is. And I think a lot of Black conservatives are along the same line, which means, okay, we know where the shootings are coming from. We know that there's a disproportionate amount of shootings coming out of the BIPOC communities and impacting the BIPOC communities, because we're not only saying the victim, but you're saying the shooter as well. And this was the big thing that we talked about right at the beginning of when defund the police was a big thing. Okay, statistically, we know those are going to be impacted the most by this are the ones that we're trying to protect already. And those are the people in the BIPOC community. So, that whole defund the police thing, we kind of knew that was going to just backfire right off the bat. And it has. And so now, we've got these studies, and Wheeler cited the need for a new study to ensure resources address the problem as it exists on the street today. So what are you going to do? You know where it's coming from. You know who it's impacting. What are you going to do that's going to be an immediate effect today? You're going to have to take some of those folks off the street that are responsible for the shooting. And percentage wise, that's not going to look good. It's just not going to look good. It's not going to be a good look in today's politically charged climate, right? There is no strategy, and it's probably more of a racially charged environment that we're talking about. There is no strategy that I'll take off the table if it works, but this is the key. Anything we do has to be data driven. All right. Okay. I expect results with the limited resources we have to invest in gun violence. And that was part of the reason we conducted a study to know. All right, whatever. Let's get past the fact that we know where the study is. Wheeler's emergency declaration comes as the patience of many Portlanders wears thin. I don't think it is wearing thin. It's gone. It is gone. We've got communities here in Western Washington we've got 6 or 7 communities in Southern King County that are just like, hey, got to come up with a plan, guys. You got to do something because we got our residents just shooting the crap out of each other, and this is not good. A shooting victim recently addressed city council, this is Portland, and called out the mayor's plan to reduce violence by 10% in 1 year, a goal Wheeler called the floor. That's the absolute bottom. He responded to the victim and told her he would no longer bullshit Portlanders. Uh-oh. Does that mean you've been bullshitting us, Mayor Ted? Have you been bullshitting us? I think you have. Because, and those are your words, not mine. I typically would never use that kind of language. But KATU asked Wheeler what prompted that response. The public's meters are pegged all the way at high. And so my job is to be direct with the public. And I probably shouldn't always use colorful language, although sometimes it underscores my point. Yeah, it does. But here's the thing, is that residents of Portland that are concerned about gun violence have known they're getting BS'd this whole time. They can see it. They can see it in their street. They just know it's unfolding in front of them. And so to have the mayor say, well, that last couple of years, I wasn't giving you the real scoop. Now I'm going to be straight with you. I don't think anybody's really buying that. Portland's gun violence crisis comes amid a historic staffing shortage in the police bureau. Police in Portland are doing the very best they can. They don't want to take vacations because they're healthy. They want to help out their fellow, police officer. It's kind of all that one big family kind of deal. Not necessarily that, but I think every community knows when you got low numbers and you leave, you're like, letting your buddies and your coworkers kind of hang out to dry when there's literally lives on the line. So you got a shortage of police officers and yet, you got violence going the other way. So they're dealing with hundreds of vacancies. The Bureau recently hired 16 new officers. Yeah. A number offset by nearly the exact same number of retirements. So we are still going negative. Seattle's going negative. Portland's going negative as far as, all right, yeah, we're hiring 16. And I forget the 16 new officers. But when you actually looked at the breakdown of those officers, it wasn't nearly as impressive as, hey, we're on the right road to redemption here. We got a bunch of new cops. It wasn't really like that. Wheeler has planned to add 200 sworn officers and 100 unarmed public safety support specialists. Stands in stark contrast with a vote the council made to cut $15 million from the police bureau and slash 84 vacant positions. Yeah. We kind of told you so on that one, right? Interesting how that worked out. Given the state of police staffing, given the state of gun violence in Portland, this is a question by KATU, but from the reporter. So police staffing, all right, it's way down. And gun violence in Portland, we know that's way up. Do you regret your vote in the summer of 2020 to cut $15 million from the police bureau in direct response to the protests? This is a question KATU asked Mayor Ted. Do you regret it? We did what the community, here's Mayor Ted's response. We did what the community was overwhelmingly asking us to do. There's your mistake. You're a leader. You should know exactly what the implications are of your actions. If they told you to jump off a bridge with a very short rope, would you? No. You need to be a leader and you need to understand the implications of what you're doing, especially when members of your community are going to die, and they have been at record levels of numbers, right? So what we did was what the community asked us. Okay, great. All right. Yep. I was standing right out there in the plaza during that summer, and there were at least 10,000 people in that plaza that were nut jobs. that were nut jobs and don't have a real a handle on public safety. And behind me, there were a number of items that they wanted us to do as their elected representative, Wheeler said. Yeah, I was there too. And you know what? I thought this is a crazy mob of just people who don't really get how all this works. And they are just out for blood because they're out for blood. And that's what we had all across the United States. And communities across the United States they're still dealing with it. Portland's got an emergency declaration. So, okay, so you listen to your representatives and then what'd you do? Do you regret your vote? KATU circled back around and asked again because Mayor Ted didn't really answer that question. Here's his response. I don't, because what it led to ultimately was the creation of the Focused Intervention Team, which now has community oversight to the Focused Intervention Team Community Oversight Group, something... You defunded the cops at a terrible time. Let's just admit it. And you already had the Focused Intervention Team. You're just renaming it and you're like, yeah, this is great. I will remind you that the old gun violence reduction team model had been ridiculed by not one, but two separate audits. All right. How were your gun violence levels at that point in time? What were they? And what are they now? That's based on data, right? Just last week, I participated in, I believe, the largest swearing in of new police officers and personnel in at least 3. Well, that's a good start, but you're so far behind that it's almost like, all right, yeah, that's good, but you're going to need a lot more than that. You're going to need 16 new hires and nobody retiring every single month for the next, I don't know how many decade in order to catch up. In a couple of weeks, we're going to have more. All right. So Mayor Ted goes on to literally blow more smoke up our skirts. We are focusing our limited resources statistically on programs that work and addressing the problems is where it's happening and on who is directly involved in those acts. You got to start throwing these kids in jail. I'm sorry. You just do. That's where we're at. Wheelers and city leaders have since reinvested millions in police and approved a nearly $250 million budget in June. Other mayors, Mayor Durkin here in Seattle, say what you will about Mayor Durkin, but she kind of took a stance of, I don't really think, I know you're on board with this defund the police by 50% right now, but you don't really want to do that. You don't really want to do that. And it's because they knew what the implications of that would be. And it would be just atrocious to the actual community and atrocious to the communities that can least afford to have this happen to them. And it's happened. And what are we doing about it? Well, we're studying it. We're reanalyzing it. We're rethinking it. We're pumping some money into it, pumping $2.4 million Portland is. To boost hiring, the police bureau is paying $25,000 bonuses to people who are, all right, that's great and all, but communities across the United States are also doing the same damn thing. There's a labor shortage out there. So you've only got so many people that want to become cops. And money aside, this is probably one of the most historically low periods in history where people want to become cops. You want to become a cop? I don't think so. Did you see the summer of 2020? Yeah, I did too. Yeah, no. I think I'll just become a programmer for Google or Microsoft or, just any old tech company that'll take me. Don't have to risk my life. Okay. Yeah. That's literally what the kids are out there doing, right? You have crapped on policing as an industry and now you get what you pay for. People want the truth. They want the unvarnished truth about where we are, what's going on, why it's going on, what we're doing about it, and what are the results, Mayor Ted Wheeler said. All right. Well, I kind of think anybody can kind of tell you what's going on. Just ask a cop in Portland. These are not difficult things to analyze. Now, the next step is, what are you going to do about it? What's that going to look like? How are you going to stop gun violence right now, today? And I think that's one of the major struggles across the United States is, all right, and you've got this fentanyl issue. You got these synthetic drugs that are just fueling this. And you got people just shooting each other left, right, and center. It's not a gun control issue. It's a gun violence issue. And it's not a gun violence issue. It's a people issue. You got people shooting each other willy-nilly. I want to start doing some more stories on the actual crimes, but I can't because, we're not really in a position where we can talk about that. I get hamstrung every single time I bring up something that's a little bit outside of the box, and what major social media considers tragedy is, storylines that we cover. So I can't really do that. And I'm working on solutions to get around that, because there are so many stories. I'm like, I would love to read that one. Yep. That will go absolutely nowhere because it'll either get demonetized or it puts a strike against the channel. And it's literally reading the news. You guys know what I do here. I read the news. I'm not making crap. I'm not coming up with fictional stories. Well, one of the stories this past weekend, Seafair weekend, that's why I'm kind of ridiculously tan. I know it's absurd, but I'm, outside in the sun and tend to get tan. I'm 30 SPF all day long. But this past weekend, a guy, I think it was on the Blade in Seattle, took out a big metal pole and whacked another 64-year-old dude in the head like 3 times. The guy died from his injuries. I mean, you got some nut job stuff going on out there. Nut job stuff. And so people want to know, all right, what are you going to do today to fix our issues? And that's where all of this stuff, you start to look at all the data and you're like, okay, so you're going to have to drop the hammer on a certain segment of these folks. And when you do, and you start analyzing those stats, that's where we get stuck. Because we don't want to hammer on the BIPOC community. We certainly don't, but we want to help them out. How are we going to do that given the statistics that we literally just read right here? What are you going to do? And that's where I think, everybody throws their hands up and they're like, let's invest some more in community services. Now, leadership in the BIPOC communities is saying, yeah, that's great, but you also got to do something else. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to take, because I don't see like a Portland community really coming down hard on people shooting other people. I don't see that as happening. I think they're going to pussyfoot around the outside of it, going to invest some more in community stuff, and just hope upon hope that these levels of gun violence start to recede. I think that's what everybody's kind of waiting for. All right, this is going the wrong direction still. 2 years later, still ongoing. It's got to stop sometime, doesn't it? I don't know. I don't think it does. I think we've let the genie out of the bottle. Here we are. And now we're kind of sitting on the front line going, well, that's not good. And then you've got the mayor saying, people want the truth. No. People know the truth. They already understand the truth. What is the solution to the truth? They want the unvarnished truth about where we are. All right, well, you know where we are. Historically high levels of people shooting each other. What's going on? Well, they're shooting each other. That's not good. Why it's going on? Okay, well, because we've let it, and then we defunded the police, and there's an opportunity for this to take place, and we're not prosecuting them on the other end. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. You're going to have to prosecute some folks, get them off the street, clean things up a little bit. And that's going to be a tricky one. And what we're going to do about it is literally what Mayor Ted's saying. This is what people want to know. What we're going to do about it, and what are the results? I'm waiting. I'm sitting right here. I'm waiting. I want to know too. I want to know what you're going to do. Yeah. Pretty wild though, right? I mean, it feels like we're just reimagining and rethinking the whole thing just over and over and over, because to actually take some action and actually take some steps seems a little overwhelming, doesn't it? I don't think so. Let the cops do their job. Let the prosecutors do their job, and, actually do their job, and have the justice system actually put some people away. We've gone far too away the other way, and you're seeing the end result of it, and it's not working. So, Mayor Ted, we're looking for results too. All right, that's it for me on this one. Thank you so much. I'll catch up with you on the next one. Bye for now.